All right, so this is my production desk. I want to thank Paul, my friend who built this for me. It's a great place to sit. And usually this is where producers, executives would sit here and listen to music in a traditional studio. But basically today what I'm going to do is I'm going to walk you through the recording session that's going to happen in the next couple of weeks. I'm going to do something today with my drummer Justin, then my friend Matt's going to come over and play some bass. I'll talk about the bass setup, and then I'll talk about multi-track recording and some drums. This is a small, what we call production recording studio. It's made for one person. I'm not going to have Earth, Wind, and Fire in here playing. It's very small, and it's designed to be more compositional. I'm a guitar player. I'm not a piano player, even though I have keyboards and piano. So most of my energy is spent here playing all these guitars, which my wife thinks I have too much of, but I remind her that guitars are like shoes, right? We have lots of guitars. We can walk down here. Lots of guitars here. And this is my famous Captain America guitar that my wife actually did. So this is one in a lifetime, beautiful artwork. So this is my main guitar. And then I have a couple other ones that I have here that I play with. I recently picked up a nice Les Paul from my friend Pierre in Montreal. This is a beautiful Les Paul standard. Beautiful guitar, beautiful sounding. And I've got my Schecter that I use. It's got a nice Jimi Hendrix sound to it and a bunch of acoustics, a bunch of other guitars. But let's start with the drums first. So the key here is you have to mic the whole kit. That means you need lots of microphones and you need the headroom and space. So when I converted the barn here, I removed the floor. We put what we call shiplap, I think that's the correct term, my wife, and create this very acoustic country jazz feel because I want things open. I didn't want isolation booths and separate people. Also, I didn't have the money because it would cost a ton of money to try to do that here, so I leave everything open. And the concept is my drummer Justin sits here. Very nice environment. And basically the whole kit gets mic'd. So we have our toms, floor toms, medium toms. We have overhead left, overhead right, which picks up the stereo image. Then hi-hat gets mic'd. The snare on top and on the bottom also gets mic'd. So we have two mics here to pick up the quality of the snare because this is probably one of the most important instruments in the kit, along with the kick drum. And so we've got about 8 or 9 tracks that go into my DAW. In my old analog studio, I had a mixing board. I don't have a board yet. A nice digital board that I like is about $130,000. So that's not going to happen right away. So I run everything into a bunch of onboard gear, and I run it through my DAW, which is called Digital Audio Workstation. It's a fancy word for running. You might have heard things like Pro Tools or Logic. I use Digital Performer as well. So everything feeds back into my sort of DAW environment. I'm going to walk you over to where the bass player, my buddy Matt, is going to be hooked up. So we'll go this way. Over here, what I've done is I've created a 3 audio system. So I have to keep the bass cabinet isolated from the drums, right? We don't want bleeding rather. If the cabinet was there and we're playing, all that would get recorded, or what we call crosstalk or bleeding. So I isolate, put the bass cabinet here, and I point it that way down because down here is my machine shop, and it has a long, what we call wavelength, because bass frequencies have a long wavelength. So that way it can breathe and it creates a bit of isolation from the drums. And now in terms of miking, nothing special here. I'm using a 2-mic system, Shure SM50. This is a 58, I believe, or 57. I think it's a 58. And then I have a Blackfire 531 Sennheiser. Love this mic. It's not very popular. It's discontinued right now. It's similar to, I think, an MD421, but it has a lot of flexibility. It's great. It's a bit noisy. So what I do is I use this noise gate. So when I run through this sort of cuts out some of the noise that comes from it. But great mic, noisy. This is more of a boomy mic, not as noisy. And then what I'll do is I'll take a direct line out from the head. So when Matt plugs into the cabinet, we've got 3 signals, 2 mic and a direct. And you may ask, why so many different types of signals? Well, it's all color. This has a certain color. This has a color, and this has a color, and the goal is to bring all that into the DAW environment and mix it, and you create a nice bass sound. So that's phase 2. Phase 1 today is actually the drums. and then I'm going to walk you through the process of recording together. So the challenge for me is I have to record these guys at the same time as I'm playing to provide sort of a backtrack. So normally what I'll do for today we're just doing sound level checks. Justin's coming in, we're going to make sure the drums are loud enough, there's no distortion, there's no clipping, and I'm going to play the song here, and then at the same time it's going to inspire me to say, hey, maybe I should do something like this on the guitar, etc. And I'll give you a little snippet of the bridge section that we're working on. So this is kind of, and then it's going to go into the bridge section. So right now I don't have any drums for that, right? So I'm hoping Justin will be inspired and he'll lay down some drum tracks. And so we'll sort of jam out together, and at the same time I'm recording his drum patterns because I'm trying to understand what he's trying to do, and then that feeds into my playing. Then he's going to go away, and then both Matt and Justin will come back together, and then I'm going to sit here at the control center while Matt is playing bass and Justin is playing drums, and I'm sitting here recording all this. So the challenge is I've got to play, hit record, and my tracks are really what I call ghost tracks. They're there just as a guide. The reality is once we finish the session, I take that track away and I actually put down better quality, better timing tracks. But what I'm trying to do is capture the feel of the rhythm section. The rhythm section is the drums, the bass, and in this case, the guitar. If I was a piano player, it would be the piano. I do that first in multi-track recording. You lay down the rhythm section first, and then you multi-track the other instruments, vocals, piano, other guitars, etc. And then you stack that all up, and then that's how the song gets completed. In this environment, if I had a live band, we'd all go in the studio together, we'd record most of the stuff, but this is more of a compositional studio. It's designed to be a one-man show, and that's how I work. So this environment is where I spend most of my life. And then a shout out to my friend Rob, who I have an Amiga computer, if you can believe it, and I use this as well. This came out in 1988. Rob, took this over for me about almost 2 years, worked on it, fixed it all up, got all upgraded. So in the second song I'm working on, I have this sort of song syncing up with my current environment. So I'll talk about that next time. But I just wanted to let you know today, if all goes well, I'll be able to lay down some drums with Justin, and then the next session will be all three of us will be playing together, and then hopefully try to get the song out soon. Enjoy your weekend.